A Cold War bomber that has been flying since 1986 just became one of the most dangerous aircraft in the American arsenal. Not because it went stealth or because it got faster, but because the Air Force figured out a completely different way to make it lethal, and China's most sophisticated air defenses cannot touch it. How does a 40-year-old bomber become a threat China cannot track? And why does it terrify military planners in Beijing more than a brand new stealth jet? Join us as we reveal the details behind the B-1B Lancer's transformation into America's most dangerous missile truck. Let us start with a fact that most people miss entirely about the B-1B Lancer. Its nickname among the crews who fly it is not the Lancer. It is the Bone. B-1, the Bone. And for decades, that nickname captured something true about the aircraft. It was big, loud, and fast, and it was absolutely unmistakable on any radar screen. That was fine in the Cold War era. Against Soviet air defenses in the 1980s, low and fast was a viable strategy. The problem now is that the world it was designed for no longer exists, and the world that replaced it is one where flying fast and low into defended airspace is a way to get a very expensive aircraft shot down very quickly. China has spent years building a massive anti-access and area denial architecture that extends across the First Island chain and deep into the Western Pacific. The B-1B's large radar signature and significant infrared heat output from its 4 powerful engines make it far too visible to modern integrated air defense systems. In a direct penetration role against China's layered defenses, the Lancer would face serious survivability problems. So here's the question worth asking. If the B-1B cannot safely fly into China's defended airspace, and the Air Force is still investing money in it, what exactly is the plan? The answer completely changes how you think about what makes a bomber dangerous in the modern era. And it starts with understanding that stealth is not the only way to beat an air defense system. Sometimes the best way to beat an air defense system is to never enter its range in the first place. This is the concept the Air Force calls a standoff strike. The bomber does not need to get close to the target. The missile does. And if the missile is stealthy, autonomous, and has a range of several hundred miles, the bomber can sit well outside the most dangerous threat envelopes and still put warheads on targets deep inside defended territory. The bomber becomes a launch platform. Now, the question you ask about it changes from, can it survive enemy airspace, to how many missiles can it carry? On that question, the B-1B has a very compelling answer. The B-1B carries a payload of up to 75,000 pounds of ordnance across 3 internal bomb bays, with 6 external hardpoints capable of carrying an additional 50,000 pounds of munitions. No other combat aircraft in the United States military carries more. The B-2 Spirit, America's stealth bomber, carries 16 JASSM missiles internally. The B-1B carries 24. Every single B-1B in the fleet carries more missiles than the aircraft that is supposed to be its more advanced replacement. And the Air Force is about to make those numbers even bigger. The fiscal 2026 budget request includes $50.26 million for a new effort called the External Heavy Stores Pylon Program, which will restore the B-1B's long-dormant external hardpoints and provide significantly increased carriage capacity for standoff munitions. Here is the backstory on that, because it is genuinely interesting. The B-1B's 6 external hardpoints were originally incorporated into the design during the Cold War, specifically to carry nuclear-tipped cruise missiles. After the Cold War ended and arms control agreements removed the B-1B's nuclear role, those hardpoints were largely deactivated and fell out of use. They have been sitting there for decades, unused, waiting for a reason to come back. That reason has arrived, and it has a name: the Load Adaptable Modular Pylon, or LAM. The LAM system is designed to restore the B-1B's external carrying capacity in a major way. The current configuration can carry approximately 34,000 kilograms of ordnance, but the LAM system could boost that figure to just over 51,000 kilograms, an increase of roughly 50%. With 6 LAM pylons active, a single B-1B could carry 36 JASSM missiles in a combined internal and external configuration, 36 precision-guided, long-range, stealthy cruise missiles on one aircraft, a B-1B carrying 24 JASSMs internally can already launch its entire payload from 575 miles away, well outside the range of any current air defense system. The missiles fly autonomously to their targets while the bomber turns for home. No crew is put at risk. No suppression of enemy air defense is required. The bomber is not fighting its way to the target. It is opening the bay doors from a safe distance and releasing a swarm of missiles that do the fighting themselves. With LAM pylons adding another 12 external missiles to that load, we are talking about a single aircraft launching 36 precision strikes from beyond the reach of the air defense system, protecting those targets. 36 separate aim points, 36 separate impacts, from one plane that never entered the kill zone. Now here is where the missile itself matters enormously, because the whole standoff concept only works if the missile can survive the flight to the target after the bomber releases it. And this is where the JASSM comes in. The JASSM uses a combination of GPS and inertial navigation for the bulk of its flight, then switches to an imaging infrared seeker for the terminal phase. The infrared seeker provides autonomous target recognition. The missile matches what it sees against a stored image of the target, enabling precision strikes even if GPS is jammed or degraded. This dual-mode guidance is not just a technical detail. It is a direct answer to one of the most likely responses China would use to counter a JASSM attack: jamming the GPS signal. JASSM does not rely solely on GPS. Even in a degraded GPS environment, it finds its target. And the stealth design of the JASSM is what makes the whole concept viable against a sophisticated integrated air defense network. Even if an enemy air defense system survives the initial strike, its ability to intercept incoming JASSMs is degraded by the missile's low radar cross-section. In a saturation attack, dozens of JASSMs launch simultaneously from multiple aircraft. The defender faces the nearly impossible task of detecting, tracking, and engaging numerous stealthy targets approaching from different directions at once. Now multiply that by a fleet of B-1Bs. The Air Force currently operates 44 of them. If even half that fleet launched a full JASSM load simultaneously, you are looking at over 800 stealthy cruise missiles converging on targets from multiple directions. No air defense system on Earth was designed to handle that. China's air defense system is not an exception. The Air Force has already increased its JS-1 stockpile objective by 47%. Fiscal year 2025 funds continued maximum rate procurement of 550 JASSMERs annually, and the manufacturer is opening a second production facility specifically to double JASSM and LRASM production. The Air Force plans to increase purchases to 810 missiles per year, driven by threats in both Europe and the Pacific. But the JASSM is not the ceiling of what the LAM pylons are being built to carry. The Air Force is looking significantly further forward than that. The LAM pylon is rated to carry stores up to 7,500 pounds, which would allow it to carry the AGM-183 Air-Launched Rapid Response Weapon, the ARRW, a hypersonic boost glide weapon estimated to weigh around 6,500 pounds. A boost glide hypersonic weapon is different from a conventional cruise missile in a fundamental way. It is launched from altitude, climbs to near space, and then releases a glide vehicle that descends to its target at hypersonic speeds, faster than Mach 5. The combination of altitude, speed, and maneuverability makes it extraordinarily difficult to intercept. When the hypersonic weapons are ready and integrated, a B-1B could carry up to 31 of them internally and externally in a combined configuration. 31 hypersonic weapons on a single aircraft, each one capable of striking a target from over 1,000 miles away at speeds that defeat any current air defense interceptor. The B-1B would not be carrying bombs into defended airspace. It would be delivering a hypersonic missile swarm from a distance that puts the aircraft itself entirely beyond China's reach. The Air Force also has the Hypersonic Attack Cruise Missile, known as HACM, in development, an air-breathing hypersonic missile small enough to be carried in quantity. The LAM configuration could potentially enable each B-1B to carry up to 36 hypersonic weapons when fully integrated with conventional armaments. There is also a naval dimension to this upgrade that deserves attention. Adding the long-range anti-ship missile to the B-1B's external pylons addresses what Air Force budget documents describe as an air launch capability gap by providing flexible, long-range advanced anti-surface capability against high-threat maritime targets. In a Pacific conflict, China's naval power matters as much as its land-based air defenses. A B-1B that can launch LRASM from several hundred miles away, targeting Chinese warships without entering the envelope of those ships' air defense systems, is a significant naval strike capability in an airframe that was never originally designed for that role. Years of upgrades have also transformed the B-1B's internal systems. New secure data links, including Link 16, allow B-1B crews to exchange real-time information with other aircraft and platforms in a networked battle space. The cockpit has been reworked with modern displays and mission computers, and updated communications gear supports jam-resistant satellite communications for beyond line-of-sight operations. The aircraft flying missions today is not the same aircraft that rolled out of the factory in the 1980s. The airframe is the same, but everything inside it has been progressively rebuilt for the modern threat environment. A bomber built in the Cold War to outrun Soviet radar is now being rebuilt to outlast China's entire anti-access strategy, not by getting stealthier, by carrying more missiles, with longer range, with better guidance at hypersonic speed. In December 2025, 17 B-1B Lancer bombers thundered back to Ellsworth Air Force Base after a 10-month absence, transformed by war and technology. Veterans of Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Venezuela, they returned carrying a chilling new role. The Air Force's $50 million external heavy stores pylon program has reimagined the aging Lancer into a hypersonic strike platform capable of unleashing dozens of long-range or hypersonic weapons in one mission. Why are military planners worldwide terrified of this development? How does carrying hypersonic missiles externally change the strategic balance? Join us as we explore how the B-1B Lancer's return with revolutionary new capabilities has changed modern air warfare. For years, the Air Force attempted to retire the entire Lancer fleet, arguing the aircraft were too expensive to maintain and redundant given the coming B-21 Raider stealth bomber. By 2023, only 45 B-1Bs remained operational from the original fleet of 100, built in the 1980s. The bombers had been working mercilessly during 2 decades of continuous combat operations in the Middle East and Afghanistan, accumulating flight hours at rates far exceeding original projections. Each flight hour required 48.4 hours of maintenance, making the Lancer one of the most maintenance-intensive aircraft in the inventory. Structural fatigue, parts obsolescence, and aging systems created constant readiness challenges that frustrated commanders and drained budgets. Congress, however, saw things differently from Air Force leadership. Lawmakers recognized that retiring the B-1B fleet before the B-21 achieved full operational capability would create a dangerous bomber gap precisely when tensions with China and Russia were escalating. The B-2 Spirit fleet numbers only 20 aircraft, far too few to cover all potential contingencies. The B-52 Stratofortress, while being modernized with new engines and radar, remains subsonic and vulnerable. Without the B-1B's unique combination of speed, payload capacity, and ability to operate in contested environments, American air power would lose critical capabilities. Congressional mandates, therefore, kept the Lancer flying, but simply maintaining the status quo wasn't enough. If these bombers were to remain relevant against adversaries deploying increasingly sophisticated air defenses, they needed revolutionary new capabilities. The solution emerged from an unexpected quarter: the Hypersonic Weapons Testing Program. The Air Force had been using B-52 bombers as test beds for hypersonic missile development, but the aging Stratofortresses were overwhelmed with modernization work, including new engines, advanced radar systems, upgraded communications gear, and countless other improvements scheduled over the next 7 years. Boeing, which acquired Rockwell's bomber division, proposed an alternative: modify B-1B Lancers to carry hypersonic weapons externally, offloading testing from the B-52, while simultaneously creating an operational capability that could rapidly enhance the bomber force. Between fiscal years 2022 and 2023, the Air Force invested $20 million developing an external carry-enabled testbed, successfully demonstrating that B-1Bs could execute captive carry of 5,000-pound class stores and release proven weapon shapes from load-adaptable modular pylons. This demonstration proved transformative because it validated a concept that would fundamentally change how B-1B fights. The Lancer was originally designed in the 1970s and 80s to penetrate Soviet airspace at low altitude and high speed, either dropping nuclear weapons or firing nuclear-tipped cruise missiles. When the nuclear mission was eliminated in 1994 under the START Treaty, external hardpoints were sealed to comply with arms control verification requirements. The aircraft could only carry weapons internally, limiting it to 24 joint direct attack munitions or similar weapons in its 3 internal bomb bays. While substantial, this payload paled compared to what the bomber could theoretically carry if external stations were reopened. The LAM pylon testing proved external carriage was feasible without compromising aircraft safety or performance, opening the door to a capability transformation that would make the B-1B the most heavily armed conventional bomber ever fielded. The fiscal year 2026 budget request formalized this transformation, allocating $50.26 million to the External Heavy Stores Pylon program. This funding supports comprehensive development, including computational fluid dynamics modeling and wind tunnel testing of various external pylon and weapon configurations, hardware designed to modify aircraft line replaceable units and wiring, and software updates enabling the store's management system to recognize external pylon stations and weapons. The work is proceeding on an aggressive timeline because military planners recognize that China's military modernization and Russia's increasingly aggressive posture create urgency for enhanced capabilities. Initial installations will begin in fiscal year 2026, with testing and validation continuing through 2027 and beyond, ultimately equipping the entire operational B-1B fleet with external carriage capability. The weapons integration possibilities are staggering. With LAM pylons installed on external hardpoints, a single B-1B will be able to carry 36 AGM-158 joint air-to-surface standoff missiles, tripling its current capacity. The JSSM is a stealthy cruise missile with a range exceeding 570 miles when fired from altitude, capable of penetrating sophisticated air defenses and destroying high-value targets with a 1,000-pound warhead. Imagine a B-1B approaching defended airspace from standoff range, unleashing 36 JASSMs simultaneously at different targets across a wide area. Enemy air defense operators would face the nightmare scenario of tracking and engaging dozens of low-observable cruise missiles converging from multiple directions, each capable of destroying critical installations like command posts, radar sites, missile batteries, or communications facilities. The volume of fire would overwhelm defensive systems designed to engage a handful of threats, creating gaps that follow-on strikes could exploit. The AGM-158C long-range anti-ship missile integration transforms the B-1B into a naval strike platform unlike anything currently operational. LRASM was specifically designed to defeat advanced air defense systems on warships through a combination of stealth, sophisticated electronic warfare, and intelligent autonomous targeting. The missile can identify and prioritize targets independently, sharing information with other LRASMs in flight to coordinate attacks that maximize damage while minimizing exposure to defensive fire. A B-1B carrying 36 LRASMs represents a ship-killing capability that could devastate an entire enemy naval task force in a single strike. Chinese or Russian planners attempting to project naval power face the prospect of American bombers launching waves of these missiles from beyond the range of ship-based air defenses, systematically destroying high-value vessels like aircraft carriers, cruisers, and amphibious assault ships. The hypersonic weapons integration represents perhaps the most terrifying capability enhancement. The Air Force has requested funding in the 2026 budget to acquire AGM-183A air-launched rapid response weapon missiles, a hypersonic boost glide system that accelerates to over Mach 5 and maneuvers unpredictably during flight, making interception nearly impossible with current defensive technologies. When the External Heavy Stores Pylon program reaches full maturity, a single B-1B will theoretically be able to carry 31 hypersonic missiles, combining internal and external carriage. 31 weapons, each traveling faster than a mile per second, each capable of destroying hardened targets that conventional weapons cannot touch, each essentially invulnerable to existing air defense systems. This capability alone would fundamentally shift the balance of power in any potential conflict with China or Russia. Understanding why this terrifies adversary military planners requires examining the strategic context. China has invested hundreds of billions of dollars in anti-access area denial capabilities, specifically designed to keep American forces, particularly aircraft carriers and bombers, away from areas China considers vital to its interests. The South China Sea, Taiwan Strait, and approaches to mainland China bristles with advanced air defense systems, including the HQ-9 long-range surface-to-air missile, sophisticated early warning radars, and hundreds of fighter aircraft. Chinese strategists assumed that even if American bombers penetrated these defenses, they could only carry limited weapons loads, allowing Chinese forces to absorb the strikes and continue operations. A B-1B carrying 36 standoff cruise missiles or 31 hypersonic weapons shatters this assumption completely. A handful of bombers could now deliver firepower equivalent to what previously required dozens of aircraft, saturating defenses and creating devastation that Chinese forces cannot sustain. Russia also faces similar concerns in European and Arctic theaters. Russian air defenses in Kaliningrad, Crimea, and along the country's western borders are designed to create defensive bubbles, protecting critical military installations and industrial centers. The S-400 and newer S-500 air defense systems can engage aircraft at ranges exceeding 200 miles and altitudes up to 100,000 feet, creating zones where conventional bombers face unacceptable risk. However, these systems have limited magazines. An S-400 battery can engage only a certain number of targets before requiring reloading, a process that takes time and exposes the system to follow-on strikes. If American B-1Bs can launch 36 cruise missiles or multiple hypersonic weapons from standoff ranges, they can overwhelm these defenses through sheer volume, exhausting interceptor magazines and creating gaps for additional strikes. The operational flexibility that external carriage provides deserves special emphasis. Traditional mission planning required careful calculation of weapons loads based on target sets, with aircraft configured for specific missions during ground operations. If the tactical situation changed during flight, bombers often couldn't adapt because they lacked the right weapons mix. External pylons changed this calculus fundamentally by allowing mission flexibility previously impossible. A B-1B could carry a mix of JDAM precision bombs internally for attacking fixed installations, while simultaneously carrying externally JASSMS for destroying air defenses or LRASMS for engaging naval targets. If intelligence identifies unexpected targets during the mission, the bomber has options to prosecute them without aborting or requiring additional sorties. The Pacific theater focus drives much of this development. Pentagon strategists have identified China as the pacing threat for military planning, and potential conflict scenarios in the Indo-Pacific present unique challenges that the upgraded B-1B is specifically designed to address. The vast distances across the Pacific Ocean strain logistics and aerial refueling capacity, limiting the number of aircraft that can effectively strike targets deep inside Chinese-controlled territory. The B-1B's combination of long-range, high speed, and massive payload means fewer bombers can deliver equivalent firepower compared to tactical fighters requiring multiple refuelings and carrying limited weapons loads. The bomber can cruise at over 600 miles per hour, covering distances that would take subsonic B-52s significantly longer, compressing enemy response timelines and complicating defensive planning. The recent return of B-1Bs to Ellsworth Air Force Base after 10 months at Grand Forks highlights the integration between legacy bombers and future capabilities. The aircraft had been temporarily relocated to allow massive infrastructure construction at Ellsworth, preparing for B-21 Raider arrival in the coming years. Over 20 major facilities were constructed or renovated, including specialized hangars, maintenance facilities, weapons loaders training buildings, and upgraded runways capable of handling both the aging Lancers and future Raiders. When the B-1Bs returned in December 2025, they landed on freshly completed runways that had been closed for 11 months, marking a symbolic transition where old and new capabilities will coexist for over a decade as the bomber force transforms. This coexistence is critical because the B-21 won't achieve full operational capability until the early 2030s, and current procurement plans call for only 100 aircraft. Many analysts argue that this number is insufficient for simultaneously deterring threats in Europe, the Middle East, and the Indo-Pacific while maintaining strategic nuclear deterrence. Some experts have suggested the Air Force needs closer to 175 or even 225 B-21 Raiders to meet all requirements. Until that debate is resolved and additional aircraft are procured, the upgraded B-1B fleet must carry a substantial burden. The External Heavy Stores Pylon program ensures these aging bombers can compete in increasingly contested environments while the service transitions to next-generation platforms. The maintenance and readiness improvements accompanying the external carriage upgrades deserve attention because they address long-standing B-1B challenges. The integrated battle station modernization, completed fleet-wide, replaced analog cockpit systems with modern digital displays, improving navigation accuracy, situational awareness, and reducing pilot workload. The BEAST program at Dyess Air Force Base accelerated modernization timelines by years, incorporating Link 16 tactical data links enabling real-time information sharing with other aircraft and command centers, secure communications resistant to jamming and interception, advanced defensive avionics that can detect and counter threats more effectively, and increased data storage, allowing the bomber to gather and process more intelligence during missions. Radio cryptography modernization enables transition to next-generation mobile user objective system, satellite communications, providing secure, jam-resistant, beyond line-of-sight connectivity regardless of weather or tactical situation. These communication upgrades transform the B-1B from an isolated strike platform into a network node that can receive targeting data from satellites, drones, or other aircraft, immediately prosecute time-sensitive targets, and share battle damage assessment back to commanders. This networking capability multiplies effectiveness by allowing bombers to participate in dynamic targeting, where objectives change based on real-time battlefield developments rather than pre-planned strike packages that might hit obsolete aim points. The decision to regenerate retired B-1Bs from the boneyard at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base demonstrates commitment to maintaining fleet strength through the transition period. When a B-1B was severely damaged in a fire at Dyess Air Force Base in April 2022, causing nearly $15 million in damage, the Air Force faced a choice: invest in expensive repairs or replace the aircraft from storage. Officials chose to pull the retired bomber nicknamed Lancelot from the 309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group, restore it to flyable condition, and return it to operational service. This regeneration process, while complex and time-consuming, proved more cost-effective than repairing fire damage and maintained the congressional mandate for a specific fleet size. The Air Force has indicated willingness to regenerate additional retired aircraft if operational requirements demand it, providing a reserve capacity that can be activated relatively quickly. The current operational fleet of approximately 45 B-1Bs, split between Ellsworth in South Dakota and Dyess in Texas, represents a carefully balanced force structure. Each bomb wing maintains roughly half the fleet, ensuring that even if one base is temporarily incapacitated by weather, maintenance, or other issues, the other can continue operations. This dispersal also complicates adversary targeting. Destroying American bomber capability requires successfully attacking multiple locations rather than a single concentrated base. As additional bases, including Whiteman in Missouri, prepare to receive B-21 Raiders, the bomber force will become even more distributed, further enhancing survivability against preemptive strikes. Combat experience validates the B-1B's effectiveness and justifies continued investment. During Operation Absolute Resolve, the January 2026 mission that captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, B-1B Lancers played critical roles in suppressing air defenses and providing on-call strike capability for ground forces. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs Air Force General Dan Kane specifically mentioned B-1Bs among the 150 aircraft participating in the operation, noting their contribution to the overwhelming success that saw Maduro extracted without American casualties. Throughout 2025, Lancers deployed to the Middle East conducted successful counter-drone operations, destroying Iranian-supplied Shahed drones threatening American and allied forces, while also conducting precision strikes against Syrian military positions that threaten U.S.-backed fighters. The cost-effectiveness of the B-1B compared to alternatives makes continued operation economically rational despite high maintenance requirements. Flight hour costs run approximately $72,000 according to recent estimates, substantially less than the $135,000 for B-2 Spirit stealth bombers and competitive with the B-52's costs. When you consider that a single B-1B carrying 36 cruise missiles delivers firepower equivalent to 18 F-35 fighters each carrying 2 missiles, the economics become compelling. The fighter package would require multiple aerial refuelings, extensive mission planning, and coordinated timing, while a single bomber crew can execute the same strike with far less complexity. International observers are closely watching B-1B developments for insights into American capabilities and intentions. Allies operating under U.S. security guarantees, including Japan, South Korea, and NATO members in Europe, view bomber modernization as reassurance that America maintains credible conventional deterrence against aggression. The ability to rapidly deploy devastating firepower from standoff ranges without risking high-value assets like aircraft carriers provides options for responding to crises without automatic escalation to nuclear employment. Adversaries, conversely, must now plan their defenses around the assumption that American bombers can deliver overwhelming conventional firepower that could cripple military capabilities in the opening hours of conflict. Looking toward future capabilities, the B-1B continues evolving with potential integration of directed energy weapons, advanced electronic warfare systems, and even more sophisticated sensors. Research into laser defensive systems that could engage incoming missiles offers the possibility of active protection that would dramatically enhance survivability in contested airspace. Improved electronic warfare could degrade or destroy enemy air defense radars, creating corridors for penetration that currently don't exist. Advanced synthetic aperture radars could identify and track mobile targets like missile launchers or command vehicles, enabling dynamic retargeting that keeps pace with fluid battlefield conditions. The hypersonic testing mission places B-1Bs at the forefront of America's efforts to field operationally viable hypersonic weapons. While the initial air-launched Rapid Response Weapon program faced challenges and was reportedly canceled in 2023, the fiscal 2026 budget request for unspecified quantities of AGM-183A missiles suggests the program has been revived or reformulated. The United States has fallen behind China and Russia in fielding operational hypersonic systems, with both adversaries having tested and, in Russia's case, combat-employed such weapons. The urgency to close this gap drives investment in hypersonic development, and the B-1B serves as the primary testbed, ensuring these weapons can be rapidly fielded once testing validates performance. The Naval Strike Mission deserves particular emphasis, given the focus on potential conflict with China. The People's Liberation Army Navy has expanded dramatically over the past 2 decades, now fielding more warships than the United States and steadily improving quality. Chinese aircraft carriers, advanced destroyers equipped with sophisticated air defense systems, and amphibious assault ships capable of supporting invasion operations represent capabilities that didn't exist a generation ago. American planners must develop cost-effective methods to counter this naval expansion without bankrupting the defense budget through one-for-one matching. B-1Bs loaded with 36 LRASMs offer exactly this kind of asymmetric capability, where a relatively modest investment in bomber upgrades creates ship-killing potential that forces China to fundamentally reconsider naval employment. Militaries worldwide, particularly in China and Russia, are genuinely afraid of what these bombers can now accomplish. The comfortable assumptions that guided their defensive investments for decades have been shattered by American innovation, which has transformed an aging Cold War platform into a 21st century weapon system. As long as potential adversaries field targets that require destruction and maintain air defenses designed to counter traditional bomber capabilities, the B-1B Lancer will remain relevant and terrifying. The bone lives on, more dangerous than ever, carrying a message adversaries cannot ignore. American air power adapts, evolves, and will always find ways to accomplish the mission. The U.S. has made a major leap forward. The 2026 B-1 Lancer, a game-changing bomber, has just been revealed, promising to transform military aviation. And as global tensions rise, the arrival of this powerhouse signals a new chapter in America's military dominance. But what makes this aircraft truly unmatched? Join us as we uncover what makes the U.S. 2026 B-1 Lancer a true force to be reckoned with. The roots of the B-1A program stretch back to the early 1960s, a pivotal era for U.S. military aviation. This was shortly after a chilling wake-up call for American intelligence, the infamous downing of the Lockheed U-2 Dragon Lady. That high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft was shot out of the sky by the Soviet Union, exposing vulnerabilities in U.S. aerial operations. This incident shook the U.S. intelligence community to its core and forced a major overhaul of policies, procedures, and safety protocols. In response, military planners envisioned an ambitious new bomber. The idea was to combine the immense payload and range capabilities of the legendary Boeing B-52 Stratofortress with the blistering speed of Mach 2, similar to the sleek Convair B-58 Hustler. The hope was that such a bomber would outclass anything the Soviet Union could throw at it, essentially rendering their defenses powerless. But this dream collided with a harsh reality. The SA-2 guideline missile, known to the Soviets as the S-75 Dvina, a game-changing surface-to-air missile system that proved devastatingly effective. It was this very missile that brought down the U-2, shattering any illusions of invincibility in high-altitude operations. The United States quickly realized that the age of safe, high-speed, high-altitude bombing was over. In a radical pivot, military strategists decided to change the game entirely. Instead of soaring above enemy defenses, bombers would dive down low, hugging the terrain to evade radar detection. This approach, known as low-altitude penetration, took advantage of terrain masking, a clever tactic where pilots used natural features like hills, valleys, and even mountains to hide from radar. By flying low, bombers could disrupt the line of sight between enemy radar systems and the aircraft, essentially playing a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek. The terrain acted as a shield, making it nearly impossible for radar operators to maintain a lock on the bomber. Interestingly, this shift toward low-altitude flying began even before the U-2 incident, showing just how rapidly tactics were evolving in the face of new threats. In those early days of radar technology, one major challenge was how the systems often struggled to detect enemy aircraft, especially those flying at low altitudes. This problem was made even worse by random reflections from the ground and nearby objects, which created significant interference. These limitations greatly reduced the effectiveness of air defense systems when dealing with low-flying aircraft. Take the B-52 Stratofortress, for example. This iconic bomber was originally designed for high-altitude missions, cruising far above the reach of most enemy defenses. However, its remarkable adaptability turned it into an effective low-altitude workhorse over time. Its massive fuel capacity allowed it to fly long distances even at lower levels, while its large airframe provided ample room for advanced radar jamming equipment and deception systems. These upgrades helped it counter enemy radars and stay relevant despite its aging design. That said, the B-52 was never truly ideal for low-altitude missions. Its size and design made it less maneuverable compared to purpose-built low-flying aircraft. Recognizing this limitation, the U.S. Air Force sought a more specialized solution, a strategic penetration bomber capable of evading enemy radar by hugging the terrain. The first comprehensive study of such an aircraft, called the Subsonic Low-Altitude Bomber, was completed in 1961. This led to the conceptualization of a revolutionary design. Unlike the rugged, militaristic appearance of traditional bombers, this new design looked more like a commercial airliner, with sleek, swept-back wings, a distinctive T-shaped tail, and massive high-bypass turbofan engines for greater fuel efficiency and range. The story of the Advanced Manned Strategic Aircraft began with a predecessor project known as the URSA Extended Range Strike Aircraft. This ambitious endeavor introduced a revolutionary design feature, a variable sweep wing, allowing the aircraft to adapt its wing position during flight for better performance at different speeds. It quickly gained attention within the aviation industry, becoming a significant milestone in aircraft innovation. The Ursa project set some bold goals. The aircraft needed to carry a payload of 10,000 pounds and travel more than 10,000 miles. Of this distance, nearly 2,900 miles were to be flown at low altitudes, a challenging requirement given the fuel efficiency and structural demands of such flights. By 1963, all these ambitious ideas coalesced into what became the Advanced Manned Precision Strike System, or AMPS. This program sparked intense research and development efforts, with industry giants like Boeing, General Dynamics, and North American Aviation stepping up to the challenge. A year later, the U.S. Air Force revised its requirements, giving the concept a new name and broader ambitions: the Advanced Manned Strategic Aircraft. Unlike its predecessor, AMSA prioritized high-speed, high-altitude flight capabilities, aiming to compete with the likes of the Mach 2-capable F-111 Aardvark bomber already in service. This change was driven by the need for a bomber that could operate effectively in both conventional and nuclear missions, potentially outmaneuvering emerging Soviet air defenses. By this time, AMSA had become somewhat of a running joke among aviation experts, who quipped that it was America's most studied aircraft. While the project promised innovation, it also highlighted a growing debate within U.S. defense circles. Then Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara was particularly skeptical. A staunch advocate of intercontinental ballistic missiles as the backbone of America's nuclear deterrence, McNamara argued that pouring resources into developing a costly new bomber was unnecessary. After all, ICBMs could deliver similar results at a fraction of the cost and with far fewer operational risks. In 1964, the Advanced Manned Strategic Aircraft program took a significant turn when it was scaled back to focus solely on component research and development. This decision reflected broader debates about defense priorities during that era. By 1968, the program faced another setback when funding for the aircraft's development was vetoed yet again. However, everything changed when Richard Nixon became president. Shortly after taking office, Nixon reinstated the AMSA program as part of his administration's flexible response strategy. This approach was designed to provide a wide range of military options, steering away from the stark choice of launching an all-out nuclear war. Nixon's Secretary of Defense, Melvin Laird, took a closer look at the program. After a thorough review, he made some pivotal adjustments. One notable decision was reducing the number of FB-111 aircraft, which fell short of the range required for strategic missions. Instead, Laird pushed for accelerated research and development on the AMSA design, aiming to deliver a long-range bomber that could better meet the Air Force's needs. By 1969, after extensive discussions and debates, the program finally gained traction. It was officially named the B-1A project, signaling a fresh chapter in the Air Force's quest for a cutting-edge bomber. That same year, the Air Force invited aerospace giants, Boeing, General Dynamics, and North American Rockwell, to submit their proposals for what would become a new generation of strategic bombers. The process wasn't without its challenges. By 1971, after reviewing North American Rockwell's proposed designs, the Air Force identified 297 requests for design changes. These revisions range from addressing issues of non-compliance with technical specifications to making improvements that would simplify maintenance and enhance operational efficiency. Despite these hurdles, the program pressed on, laying the foundation for what would eventually become the iconic B-1 Lancer. One of the major challenges facing the B-1 bomber program in the 1970s was inflation, which drastically inflated costs. When the program was first conceived, the estimated cost of building one B-1 bomber was around $40 million in the 1970s. However, by 1975, that figure had skyrocketed to $70 million, nearly double the original estimate. This sharp increase in expenses prompted President Jimmy Carter to reevaluate the entire program. But it wasn't just the soaring costs that concerned him. Around the same time, President Carter learned about ongoing work on a groundbreaking stealth aircraft. The concept of a nearly undetectable bomber using advanced stealth technology seemed like a smarter investment to him compared to the continuing development of the B-1. On June 1977, Carter made a tough decision that he later described as one of the hardest of his presidency. He announced the cancellation of the B-1A bomber program. Instead of pouring more money into the B-1, his administration chose to focus on strengthening the U.S. nuclear deterrent through intercontinental ballistic missiles and submarine-launched ballistic missiles, which were seen as more cost-effective and strategically valuable at the time. Despite the secrecy surrounding the stealth bomber program, Carter's decision allowed for the continuation of the Advanced Technology Bomber Project. This highly classified program would later give rise to the iconic B-2 Spirit, a stealth bomber that revolutionized aerial warfare with its ability to penetrate deep into enemy territory undetected. Interestingly, even though the B-1A program was officially canceled, flight testing of the prototypes continued. By the time testing ended in April 1981, 4 B-1A prototypes had completed 70 test flights, logging a total of 378 flight hours. These tests provided valuable data that would prove useful when the program was eventually revived. When President Ronald Reagan took office in 1981, he faced a similar dilemma: whether he should restart the B-1 program to quickly enhance the U.S. bomber fleet, or he should wait for the ATB project to deliver a more advanced stealth bomber. By October 1981, President Ronald Reagan made a bold announcement. The U.S. would move forward with an order for 100 B-1 bombers to fulfill the critical long-range combat aircraft role. Just a few months later, in January 1982, the U.S. Air Force took the next big step, signing 2 contracts with Rockwell International worth a hefty $2.2 billion. These contracts kicked off the development and production of this cutting-edge fleet of bombers. But this wasn't just a revival of the earlier B-1A model. It was the dawn of a reimagined aircraft, the B-1B Lancer. Engineers made significant changes to improve performance and survivability. For example, the original variable geometry air intake ramps, which were complex and heavier, were replaced with simpler fixed intake ramps. This change not only streamlined the aircraft, but also reduced its radar cross-section, making it less detectable by enemy radar systems. While this came with a slight reduction in maximum speed, the trade-off was worth it. The redesign prioritized high subsonic speeds at low altitudes, a critical capability for evading detection and enemy fire during missions. The B-1B could now cruise at Mach 0.92 at low altitudes, an improvement over the B-1A's Mach 0.85. For operations at higher altitudes, its top speed reached Mach 1.25, slightly below the supersonic capabilities of its predecessor, but still impressive for a strategic bomber. Another critical enhancement was its maximum takeoff weight, which jumped from 395,000 pounds in the B-1A to a staggering 477,000 pounds in the B-1B. This upgrade allowed the aircraft to take off fully loaded with internal fuel and still carry additional external weapons if needed. This made the B-1B not just a stealthier bomber, but also a far more versatile and capable one, perfectly suited to handle Cold War-era threats. Due to the dedicated work of Rockwell engineers, the B-1 bomber's weight increase was kept to a minimum, despite major upgrades and design changes. One key factor was the growing concern about the Soviet Union's introduction of the MiG-31, which was equipped with the advanced Zaslon radar system, along with other aircraft capable of look-down capabilities. To counter these threats, the B-1's electronic warfare suite underwent a significant modernization, improving its ability to avoid detection and jamming. The B-1's impressive appearance of the aircraft features a mixed-wing configuration, with a variable sweep wing that can adjust from 15 to 67.5 degrees. This gives it great versatility, allowing it to perform at both high and low speeds with excellent maneuverability. The B-1 also boasts unique triangular motion control keels and a distinctive crosstail design. Underneath the sleek exterior, the bomber is powered by 4 General Electric F101GE102 turbofan engines. Each engine is capable of producing 17,390 pounds of thrust, with afterburners providing an impressive 3,780 additional pounds of thrust for rapid acceleration. In 2004, during discussions about the B-1B to B-1R upgrade, there were plans to replace these engines with the more modern Pratt & Whitney F119 engines, similar to those used in the F-22 Raptor. While the idea was floated by Lockheed Martin, it never progressed to the implementation stage. The survival of the B-1 bomber, especially when compared to its contemporaries in the aviation world, can largely be credited to its relatively low radar signature, or effective dispersion area. While it's far from being a stealth aircraft like the B-2 Spirit, The B-1's design cleverly incorporates features that reduce its radar visibility. For instance, it boasts serpentine-shaped air intakes that help minimize radar reflections and extensive use of radar-absorbing materials on its fuselage. These innovations give the B-1 an ESR that is approximately 1/50 of that of the B-52, even though both aircraft are roughly the same size. To put it simply, the B-1's radar signature is closer to that of a smaller, less detectable aircraft, though it doesn't fully qualify as stealth. Dubbed the Bone, the B-1B Lancer was a formidable threat during its heyday, especially to the Soviet Union. With a staggering range of over 3,400 miles without needing refueling, the bomber could extend its reach indefinitely thanks to its in-flight refueling capability. Its payload capacity was equally impressive, capable of carrying up to 125,000 pounds of bombs, including nuclear warheads. This meant the B-1B could deliver devastating strikes anywhere on the planet with speed and precision. However, timing was not on the B-1's side. When it officially entered service in the late 1980s, the Cold War was winding down, and the collapse of the Soviet Union soon after left the bomber without its primary mission. By 1992, the dissolution of the Strategic Air Command led to the removal of the B-1's nuclear capabilities. From that point onward, the fleet was repurposed exclusively for conventional missions. But the B-1 wasn't destined to fade into irrelevance. The integration of advanced technologies, such as Lockheed Martin's Sniper Advanced Targeting Pod, gave the aircraft a second life. This upgrade allowed the B-1 to deliver precision strikes with modern smart munitions, effectively transforming it into a critical component of 21st century warfare. When the B-1B Lancer bomber made its debut in Operation Desert Fox in Iraq back in 1998, it showcased its effectiveness with what some called a dumb bomb. Despite being a relatively simple weapon, the B-1B's ability to deliver it with remarkable accuracy completely redefined its role on the battlefield. Originally designed as a Cold War-era strategic bomber, it got a fresh lease on life as a versatile close-air support aircraft, proving to be an unexpected hero in the rugged and expansive terrains of Iraq and Syria. The B-1 Lancer has played a critical role in several major military operations, including Operation Allied Force in Kosovo, Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, and the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Known for its versatility, the B-1 has delivered a wide array of conventional weapons in combat zones, with the 2,000-pound GBU-31 JDAM standing out as one of its most frequently deployed munitions. During the early stages of Operation Enduring Freedom, the B-1 demonstrated its significant contribution to aerial warfare. In just the first 6 months, a fleet of 8 B-1s dropped nearly 40% of all aerial bombs used in the campaign, including an impressive 3,900 JDAMs. These precision-guided munitions were also pivotal in Iraq, where, on April 7, 2003, B-1 bombers participated in a high-profile mission to target Saddam Hussein and his 2 sons, though the attempt was ultimately unsuccessful. The B-1's reliability improved notably during its service in Afghanistan, achieving a mission-capable rate of 79%, a significant milestone given the demanding operational environment. Originally, 100 B-1Bs were built, but by year 2000, 93 remained, with the others lost to accidents. In 2001, the Pentagon proposed placing about 1/3 of the fleet in storage as part of a cost-saving measure. This sparked intense opposition from U.S. Air National Guard officers and members of Congress, leading to the drafting of an amendment to block the cuts. The proposal was aimed at reallocating funds to modernize the remaining aircraft, focusing on upgrades like advanced computer systems to maintain the bomber's cutting-edge capabilities. In 2003, the U.S. Air Force made a strategic decision to retire 33 of its B-1B Lancer bombers, focusing its resources on keeping the rest of the fleet in top operational condition. This move followed the removal of B-1B from the Air National Guard's 2 bomb wings, allowing the military to allocate its budget more efficiently. However, the following year brought a shift in priorities. A new appropriation bill called for some of these retired aircraft to be reactivated. As a result, 7 B-1Bs were pulled out of storage, bringing the fleet back up to 67 aircraft. By July 2007, the B-1B had taken on a vital new role. The Associated Press highlighted the growing USAF presence in Iraq, where the B-1B had been reintroduced as a crucial support platform for coalition ground forces. Its versatility and endurance made it ideal for armed overwatch missions. Starting in 2008, B-1Bs were deployed over Iraq and Afghanistan, circling above combat zones to provide real-time surveillance and immediate air support. Equipped with precision-guided bombs, these bombers could strike enemy targets on demand, significantly boosting ground troops' effectiveness. In addition to combat roles, the B-1B was also at the forefront of aviation innovation. On March 19, 2008, a B-1B from Dyess Air Force Base, Texas, made history by becoming the first USAF aircraft to reach supersonic speeds using a blend of synthetic and petroleum-based fuel. This groundbreaking test, conducted over Texas and New Mexico, was part of a broader initiative to reduce the military's dependence on traditional oil supplies while exploring cleaner, more sustainable energy options. Later that year, on August 4, 2008, a B-1B equipped with the Advanced Sniper Targeting Pod completed its first combat mission. This cutting-edge technology allowed the crew to identify enemy positions with pinpoint accuracy and successfully deploy a GBU-38 guided bomb in Afghanistan. This mission underscored the bomber's evolution into a precision strike platform capable of adapting to modern warfare's demands. The B-1B continued to demonstrate its global reach and versatility. In March 2011, B-1Bs from Ellsworth Air Force Base participated in Operation Odyssey Dawn, striking undisclosed targets in Libya. One of the B-1B standout features is its massive fuel reserves, allowing it to stay airborne for hours on end. This endurance gave it the ability to circle above targets, providing real-time reconnaissance that became crucial for both headquarters and troops engaged in ground operations. The B-1B wasn't just about loitering, though. Equipped with advanced systems like the Sniper Advanced Targeting Pod, it could precisely locate and relay targeting information. Whether guided by data from ground troops or its onboard systems, it could drop thousands of pounds of explosives with pinpoint accuracy, devastating enemy positions, and supporting allied forces in some of the most challenging combat scenarios. Interestingly, the B-1B's potential to carry external weapons was part of its original design during the Cold War. However, due to the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, this capability was shelved as part of international disarmament efforts. Fast forward to recent years, this feature has been revived, enabling the aircraft to carry up to a dozen powerful external weapons. This modernized capability enhances its flexibility, ensuring it remains a critical asset in modern warfare. One of the B-1's most notable upgrades is the addition of AGM-158 Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missiles and AGM-158C long-range anti-ship missiles. These subsonic cruise missiles are designed to strike from significant distances, allowing the B-1 to neutralize targets with precision while staying out of the range of enemy defenses. The B-1's load-adaptable modular pylon system is a game-changer. It enables the aircraft to carry an impressive total of 36 cruise missiles, 12 on its external pylons, and up to 24 more inside its internal bomb bays. This capacity transforms the B-1 into a powerhouse capable of overwhelming enemy naval forces, particularly in high-stakes scenarios like a conflict in the Asia-Pacific theater, where China's growing naval presence poses a strategic challenge. The B-1 is also gearing up to carry hypersonic weapons, which are currently under active development. Hypersonic missiles, such as the Hypersonic Attack Cruise Missiles, boast remarkable capabilities, including operational ranges of approximately 1,000 miles and mind-boggling speeds of up to Mach 8, 8 times the speed of sound. These missiles are so advanced that they can outpace most existing defense systems, making them nearly impossible to intercept. What makes the B-1 particularly unique is its ability to carry up to 12 hypersonic missiles externally, a feature that significantly boosts its firepower. This combination of advanced cruise and hypersonic missiles positions the B-1 Lancer as a crucial asset in any future military campaign, especially in deterring or countering threats from the People's Republic of China in the increasingly contested waters of the Asia-Pacific region. Originally, this list also included the AGM-138A Air-Launched Rapid Response Weapon, a key component of the Aero Hypersonic Missiles program. However, the U.S. Air Force canceled the development of these hypersonic missiles on March 2023 due to a combination of budget constraints and shifting priorities. Despite the cancellation, the U.S. Air Force still has a remarkable and potent conventional weapon system in its arsenal. If the Air Force manages to equip its remaining 45 B-1 Lancer bombers with the necessary missiles and secure sufficient government funding, it will wield one of the most powerful conventional weapons combinations ever seen. Just 5 B-1 Lancer bombers, crewed by only 15 people, can destroy 6 warships with a combined crew of more than 3,000 sailors. This is an extraordinary efficiency ratio, one that rivals even nuclear weapons in its destructive potential. The B-1 is capable of carrying a wide range of conventional bombs and missiles, including precision-guided munitions, which can be launched from great distances. The B-1's massive payload capacity and ability to fly at high speeds make it a key component of America's airstrike capabilities. And while this kind of power is formidable, it's important to note that even the most advanced aircraft, like the B-1, will eventually need to be replaced. In 2032, the Pentagon plans to begin gradually replacing the B-1 with the cutting-edge B-21 Raider stealth bomber produced by Northrop Grumman. The B-21 is designed with stealth features that allow it to penetrate even the most sophisticated enemy air defense systems. It's intended to be more efficient, cost-effective, and adaptable to future technological needs. Despite this, there's a strong belief among military analysts that the B-1 Lancer could remain relevant far beyond its expected retirement date. With additional upgrades to its avionics, weapon systems, and engine performance, it could continue to perform critical roles in the U.S. Air Force's missions until at least 2040. The B-1's ability to carry 75,000 pounds of bombs and missiles, more than any other U.S. bomber, is one of the reasons it remains so valuable. It can be equipped with a variety of weapons, including joint direct attack munitions, which give it precision strike capabilities, and it can carry out strategic and tactical bombing missions with exceptional effectiveness. Furthermore, despite its age, the B-1 has been continuously upgraded to maintain its relevance in the modern battlefield, with advanced radar, electronic warfare systems, and more. B-1B Lancer banks hard over black water, 4 engines screaming, weapons bay already cycling open. The crew isn't looking at a target on the horizon. They're locked onto something 400 miles inside Russian-controlled territory, something buried under reinforced concrete that was never supposed to be on any map. The question nobody's asking out loud is what happens when the most capable bomber in the U.S. arsenal gets a missile system that can reach underground targets without the aircraft ever crossing into defended airspace. Because that's exactly what's being tested right now. And somewhere in eastern Ukraine, an ammunition depot that Russia thought was untouchable just proved the answer. Most people see the B-1B and think long-range bomber, high altitude, slow and methodical. That's the wrong picture entirely. The Lancer was built to survive inside enemy airspace, not above it. Variable sweep wings let the crew collapse the geometry of the aircraft at low altitude and push it supersonic through terrain that would rip a conventional bomber apart. 4 General Electric F-101 engines push over 30,000 pounds of thrust each, and the airframe was specifically designed to fly fast and low, where radar coverage gets complicated and surface-to-air missiles have the worst engagement geometry. This isn't a platform that lobs weapons from safe altitude and goes home. It was engineered to go where the threat is thickest. The payload numbers are what stop people cold. 3 internal weapons bays across the fuselage carry up to 75,000 pounds of mixed ordnance, more than any other aircraft in the U.S. inventory, more than a B-52, more than anything flying today under a U.S. roundel. You can fill those bays with a mix of precision-guided bombs, cruise missiles, and penetrating munitions, and cover an entire target set in a single pass. The nuclear role is gone now. The START treaties pulled that mission in the 1990s, and the Lancer was converted fully to conventional strike. What that actually meant was the Air Force had a penetrating supersonic bomber with massive internal volume and nowhere specific to point it, so they pointed it at everything. Afghanistan and Iraq proved the airframe could sustain a war. B-1Bs flew more combat hours in those theaters than any other aircraft. Crews flew missions back to back. The airframes absorbed hard use, and the jet kept flying. The reason that history matters now is range and survivability. Russia runs some of the densest integrated air defense systems on the planet. S-400 batteries layered with shorter-range Panzer systems, radar coverage that extends hundreds of miles from the front line. Most strike aircraft can't get close enough to reach hardened targets without entering that coverage. The Lancer, flying low and fast with its electronic warfare suite active, is the one US bomber that can actually push into that environment if it has to. But here's where the 2026 pod system changes everything. The Lancer doesn't have to go in at all anymore. The plane was already dangerous. Then they gave it a much longer arm. The 2026 stealth sniper pods don't look like weapons. That's the point. They mount conformally along the Lancer's fuselage, sitting flush against the airframe, rather than hanging off pylons the way older targeting systems do. There's no drag signature worth mentioning, no obvious tell that something new is riding on this aircraft. From the outside, a B-1B carrying the stealth sniper system looks almost identical to one that isn't. The difference is what it can now reach. Standoff range is where the math gets uncomfortable for Russian air defense planners. The pod-guided munitions release from 300 to 400 miles out. Put that on a map and it means the Lancer can sit over the Black Sea or hold a corridor over Polish airspace and still put weapons precisely onto a target deep inside Russian-controlled territory. The S-400 engagement envelope tops out well short of that distance. The S-500 pushes further, but the missile's flight profile is specifically designed to complicate that intercept. Terrain hugging at low altitude, radar cross-section reduced to near zero, flying a route that forces any defending system to engage from an unfavorable geometry. The stealth label on this system isn't describing the aircraft. The Lancer was never a stealth platform. What's stealthy is the weapon itself and the way it arrives. It doesn't come in flat and fast like a cruise missile tracking a straight azimuth. Terminal guidance flips the missile vertical, and it drives down into the target from above, through ventilation structures, through reinforced roof sections, through whatever opening gives the penetrator warhead the clearest path into the interior. A bunker designed to deflect a lateral blast doesn't know what to do with something arriving straight down at high velocity. The targeting chain is what makes that possible. The pod fuses 3 separate data streams simultaneously. Satellite imagery that's been processed for subsurface anomalies, synthetic aperture radar that can read structural density through soil and concrete, and a real-time electro-optical and infrared feed that tracks heat signatures, vehicle movement, and access point activity. Those 3 layers build an aim point on a structure that may not exist on any public map and may be disguised as something completely ordinary above ground. That's the black project problem Russia built its logistics around. Critical facilities get buried under warehouses, under agricultural land, under industrial sites that give aerial surveillance nothing obvious to lock onto. The multispectral targeting on the stealth sniper pod is specifically built to cut through that ambiguity. It's not looking for a building, it's looking for the thermal bleed of stored munitions, the compressed earth signature of a reinforced chamber, the access patterns that betray what's actually happening underground. What separates this from a JDAM or even a JASSM is the combination. JDAM gives you precision but no real range. JASSM gives you range and some penetration, but the targeting flexibility is limited. The stealth sniper system chains extended standoff range, terrain adaptive flight, multispectral terminal guidance, and a penetrator warhead into one coordinated package. Nothing in NATO's current strike inventory does all 4 in a single weapon release. That's the system on paper. Now put it over eastern Ukraine in the middle of a live war. Strike on the underground depot. Ukrainian intelligence didn't find the depot by accident. It took weeks of pattern analysis, satellite passes cross-referenced against vehicle movement logs, fuel consumption anomalies at a site that officially didn't handle military cargo, and thermal imaging that showed heat readings inconsistent with whatever the surface structures claimed to be. The signature matched a Category A ammunition storage facility, the kind Russia builds with blast-separated underground chambers so that a strike on one section can't chain detonate the rest. Heavy trucks were cycling in on a rotation that only makes sense if something below ground needed constant resupply. The site was buried, it was defended, and it was feeding artillery units along a stretch of front line that had been grinding through shells at a rate Ukrainian forces couldn't match. Ukraine had hit depots before. The Kyiv Post and RBC Ukraine both reported strikes throughout 2024 and into 2025. Belgorod Oblast, logistics hubs in occupied territory, rail-adjacent storage sites that Russian forces thought were far enough from the front to be safe. Drones found some of them, attackers found others. The secondary explosions on open-source footage were enormous. Shells and rocket propellant cooking off in chain reactions that burned for hours and lit up satellite imagery across a wide radius. Those strikes worked. They disrupted Russian artillery supply and forced logistics units into emergency redistribution that ate time and vehicles they didn't have to spare. But a hardened underground facility is a different problem. Drones can't penetrate reinforced concrete. ATCMS carries a powerful warhead, but it's not a bunker buster. And a facility with serious overhead cover can survive a near miss that would level anything on the surface. Russia figured this out early and started moving its most critical stocks into exactly these kinds of structures. The sites that mattered most became the ones that existing Ukrainian strike options simply couldn't reach effectively. That's where the B-1B enters this scenario. Operating from a NATO-adjacent airfield well outside the conflict zone, the Lancer never goes near Russian airspace. It holds a position over the Black Sea corridor, and the crew runs through final targeting confirmation while the pods are already processing the data stream from 3 separate intelligence feeds locked onto the facility below. From release point to impact, the aircraft stays hundreds of miles from any S-400 battery that could theoretically threaten it. Weapons release happens in a coordinated salvo. The missiles drop off the aircraft and immediately go low, following terrain contours that keep them under the radar horizon of any ground-based air defense system positioned to protect the target area. Terminal guidance takes over in the final miles, and that's when the flight profile changes completely. The missiles pull up and go vertical, driving down into the facility from above. Ventilation shafts, reinforced roof sections, access corridors, whatever the multispectral targeting identified as the best penetration path gets hit first, then the follow-on weapons go through the breach into the hardened chambers below. A penetrator warhead isn't designed to detonate on contact with the outer structure. It travels through using kinetic energy and a delayed fuse to place the explosion inside the chamber where the stored munitions are. Underground, that blast has nowhere to go. Pressure waves bounce off reinforced walls and come back through the stored ordnance, and then the stored ordnance starts going too. The chain reaction is what turns a precision strike into a catastrophic loss for the Russian side. Not just the facility itself, but everything in it. Months of accumulated artillery shells, rocket motors, and guided munition stocks that took a dedicated logistics chain to move and store. On the surface, there's almost nothing visible at first. Then the ground starts moving. This isn't theory. Ukraine already proved that hitting these depots changes the math on the battlefield. The footage from the real strikes doesn't need narration. You watch the drone feed, and there's a surface structure, then a pause, then the ground underneath it simply comes apart. Not a fireball rolling up from an explosion at ground level. The earth itself ruptures from below as the stored munitions inside detonate in sequence. That's what a successful penetrating strike on an underground depot actually looks like from the outside, and Ukrainian forces captured it multiple times throughout 2024. Reporting from the Kyiv Post in RBC Ukraine confirmed strikes against Russian ammunition storage in Belgorod Oblast and across occupied Ukrainian territory, with secondary explosions visible on satellite imagery that burned long after the initial strike. The scale of those secondaries isn't consistent with a surface hit. When you strike a building and the building burns, the fire is contained. When the munitions inside an underground chamber start cooking off, the chain reaction propagates through the stored ordnance in sequence, each detonation triggering the next, and the burn can run for hours across a wide radius. That's what the footage showed. That's what the satellite imagery confirmed. What Russia actually lost in those strikes goes beyond the hardware count. Each depot that Ukrainian forces took off the board represented months of accumulated supply. Artillery shells moved by rail from production facilities hundreds of miles east. Rocket propellant staged forward through a logistics chain that runs under constant threat. Guided munitions that take longer to produce and move than Russia's burn rate should allow. Russian gun lines were firing at rates that burned through supply faster than it could be reconstituted, even before the depot strike started cutting into stockpiles. After sustained targeting of storage sites, those firing rates dropped. That drop isn't speculation. It showed up in frontline reporting on both sides, in ammunition rationing orders captured from Russian units, and in the measurable slowdown of artillery activity along certain sectors. Russia adapted because Russia always adapts. The early losses came from surface and semi-hardened storage that Ukrainian drones and HIMARS could reach without much difficulty, so the stocks that mattered most went deeper. Reinforced underground facilities became the standard for anything Russia considered irreplaceable. Guided missiles, large-caliber artillery shells, the munitions feeding the guns that were keeping pressure on Ukrainian defensive lines. The logic was sound. If you can't protect the supply chain above ground, you bury it deep enough that nothing your enemy currently has can reach it. That logic held right up until the moment it didn't. A penetrating munition arriving vertically from standoff range doesn't care how much concrete sits overhead. The depth that made a facility feel safe is actually a liability once the warhead is inside, because the blast energy that has nowhere to escape goes straight into whatever's stored in the chamber. The hardening that was supposed to protect the munitions becomes the thing that ensures they all go at once. The Lancer makes this mission repeatable and scalable in a way nothing else in NATO's current inventory can match. One sortie, multiple hardened targets, weapons released from outside any realistic interception window. That's not a one-time capability demonstration. That's a sustained pressure campaign against the one category of target Russia thought was exempt from conventional strike. The strategic effect isn't just the munitions destroyed, it's the uncertainty that follows. Russian planners now have to assume that underground storage is not safe, which means dispersal, which means smaller caches in more locations, which means a longer and more vulnerable supply chain with more exposure points. Trying to hide from the stealth sniper system by spreading the problem around doesn't solve it, it just creates more targets. The B-1B was already the most capable conventional bomber flying before any of this. The 2026 pod system takes an airframe built to survive inside defended airspace and gives it the reach to never go in at all. Ukraine proved with drones and ATACMS that depot strikes change frontline arithmetic. A Lancer with penetrating standoff weapons takes that same logic and applies it to targets buried too deep for anything else to touch. Russia's underground facilities were the last safe place in the logistics chain. Something flew in 2026 that most people still don't know about. No press conference, no Pentagon briefing, just a contrail at the edge of space and a shockwave that lit up sensor networks across 3 time zones. What caused it was the SR-72, Lockheed's follow-up to the fastest jet ever built, designed to fly at speeds where no missile on Earth can catch it. We're going to break down what that flight revealed, why every air defense system in the world is now running the wrong calculations, and what it means for every other Air Force watching from the ground. The Black Project and what we actually know. Lockheed's Skunk Works division has been running the SR-72 program since at least 2013. That's when Aviation Week first reported on it, citing Lockheed sources who described a hypersonic demonstrator targeting Mach 6. The company didn't deny it. They confirmed the concept, pointed to a combined cycle propulsion approach, and then went almost completely silent. That silence has lasted over a decade, and it's deliberate. To understand why, you have to understand how black programs actually work. The U.S. defense budget contains a classified portion, often called the black budget, that funds development programs that never appear in public procurement records. The amounts are buried inside broader budget line items, the contractors are under strict non-disclosure agreements, and the test flights happen at ranges like Edwards Air Force Base or the Nevada Test and Training Range, where restricted airspace keeps civilian eyes out. This isn't conspiracy, it's standard acquisition practice for anything the military considers a strategic advantage. The SR-71 flew for years before the public knew it existed. The F-117 stealth fighter was operational for a decade before the Air Force acknowledged it. The SR-72 is following the same path. What makes 2026 different is the corroborating signals that started coming in from outside official channels. Aviation tracking networks picked up radar anomalies over known test corridors in the Southwest. Fast-moving returns at altitudes and speeds that didn't match any publicly registered aircraft. Eyewitness reports near the Mojave Desert and along the California-Nevada border described a distinctive double-sonic boom, the kind produced by a craft accelerating through and beyond Mach 3. That specific acoustic signature is different from a conventional supersonic aircraft. Defense analysts who track these corridors notice the pattern. None of it is proof in the courtroom sense, but taken together it builds a case that something was flying and that something wasn't a test drone or a legacy platform. Skunkworks keeps programs like this quiet for three interconnected reasons. First, operational security. The moment you confirm a capability, adversaries start building countermeasures. Second, adversary intelligence collection. Even a partial confirmation narrows the design space for engineers in Beijing or Moscow trying to reverse engineer your approach. Third, and least discussed, is the strategic value of uncertainty itself. An adversary who doesn't know what you have or when you might use it has to defend against a much wider range of possibilities. That costs money, planning cycles, and political capital. So publicly, the SR-72 remains a demonstrator program with a Mach 6 ambition. Unofficially, defense analysts believe a full-scale version has already flown. The gap between those two positions is exactly where Skunkworks wants the conversation to stay. Because the secrecy only makes sense once you understand what this aircraft can actually do. And at Mach 6, what it can do is operate in a physical environment that existing air defense systems were never designed to handle. The physics of Mach 6 and why nothing can stop it. At Mach 6, the SR-72 covers roughly 1 mile every second, not per minute, per second. Put that against the reaction time of a surface-to-air missile battery, and the math gets uncomfortable fast. A human operator who detects the aircraft, confirms the track, gets authorization, and fires is looking at a process that takes somewhere between 30 and 90 seconds under ideal conditions. By then, the aircraft is 30 to 90 miles further down its flight path. The missile isn't chasing an aircraft anymore. It's chasing a ghost. But speed alone doesn't explain why this is so hard to counter. The deeper problem is what happens to the physical environment around the aircraft at those velocities. Supersonic flight, Mach 1 to roughly Mach 3, is a solved engineering problem. Aircraft have operated in that range for decades. Hypersonic flight starts above Mach 5, and the environment there is categorically different. The air in front of the aircraft can't move out of the way fast enough, so it compresses and heats to temperatures above 2,000 degrees Celsius at the leading edges. That's not a cooling problem. It's a materials problem. And it's one of the reasons hypersonic programs keep failing. You can design an airframe that survives the heat. Designing one that survives sustained hypersonic cruise, maneuvers under load, and still functions as a weapons or sensor platform is something else entirely. Lockheed's approach to propulsion is where the engineering gets particularly difficult. Conventional jet engines work by drawing in air, compressing it with rotating fan blades, and igniting fuel in the compressed mixture. Above Mach 3, the incoming air is already so compressed and hot that the engine can't add useful energy to it. The combustion process breaks down. So the SR-72 uses what's called a combined cycle engine, developed in partnership with Aerojet Rocketdyne. At lower speeds, it runs as a turbine-based jet. At a specific transition point, it hands off to a scramjet, a supersonic combustion ramjet, where there are no moving parts and combustion happens in airflow that's already traveling faster than sound. That transition from turbine to scramjet is the single hardest moment in the flight envelope. The propulsion system has to bridge two completely different operating regimes without flameout, structural failure, or loss of control. Getting that transition right is what separates a concept from a flying aircraft. Now layer in the stealth question, because this is where the SR-72 creates a problem that existing air defense doctrine doesn't have a clean answer to. At hypersonic speeds, the plasma sheath forming around the aircraft does unpredictable things to radar returns. Sometimes it absorbs radar energy, sometimes it scatters it in ways that don't resolve into a clean track. The aircraft's geometry is designed to reduce radar cross-section, but even if that geometry produces a detectable return, a targeting solution requires more than detection. It requires a track, a predicted future position, accurate enough to put a missile warhead within lethal range. Against a Mach 6 aircraft at altitude, that prediction has to extend far enough ahead of the aircraft's current position that any course change, even a shallow one, breaks the intercept geometry entirely. Systems like the S-400, the Patriot, and China's HQ-9 were all designed with supersonic threats as their primary envelope. They're effective against cruise missiles, fighter jets, and ballistic re-entry vehicles following predictable trajectories. A sustained hypersonic cruise vehicle flying an actively managed flight path sits outside that design baseline. The engagement timelines are too compressed, the tracking demands are too steep, and the geometry of a valid intercept doesn't close against something moving that fast, that high. Speed and stealth get the aircraft into denied airspace. The real question is what it does once it's there. Strike capability, global reach, and the geopolitical shock. The SR-71 never carried a weapon. Its entire value was what it could see and bring back. Imagery, signals intelligence, electronic emissions. Every hostile nation it overflew knew it was there and couldn't do anything about it. But the aircraft itself posed no direct threat. The SR-72 breaks that arrangement entirely. Lockheed has been explicit that the design is built from the start for both reconnaissance and strike, which means the aircraft that overflies your territory at Mach 6 might not just be watching, it might be the delivery vehicle. That changes the decision calculus for any adversary defense planner in ways that are genuinely difficult to absorb. A strike launch from the continental United States can reach any point on Earth in under 2 hours at hypersonic cruise speed. There's no current early warning architecture that gives a defender 2 hours of lead time against a low observable hypersonic platform. The defender's window to intercept, evacuate, or disperse assets shrinks towards zero. And unlike a ballistic missile, which follows a predictable arc that existing systems can at least attempt to model, a hypersonic cruise vehicle can maneuver, can change heading, and doesn't telegraph its target until it's already inside the terminal phase. The ISR role compounds this. At Mach 6 in operational altitude, the SR-72 can fly a collection pass over denied territory and be back across the border before a ground controller can scramble interceptors to the right sector. The SR-71 did something similar during the Cold War, but the SR-72's speed margin over anything that might chase it is wider, and its sensor suite would be designed around a generation of collection technology that didn't exist in the 1970s. So you get reconnaissance that's essentially uncontestable, paired with a strike option that compresses response time to the point of irrelevance. For China and Russia, the 2026 flight reports, even unconfirmed, carry a specific kind of pressure. Both countries have invested heavily in what defense planners call anti-access and area denial, the layered network of radar, missiles, and fighter coverage meant to keep U.S. aircraft out of their airspace and out of reach of their high-value assets. The SR-72, if it performs as the program suggests, flies over the top of that entire architecture. It doesn't need to suppress air defenses. It doesn't need escort or electronic warfare support. It just goes, and nothing currently fielded stops it. That puts both countries in an uncomfortable position. They can accelerate their own hypersonic programs. Russia has been public about platforms like the Kinzhal and Zircon. China has shown the DFZF glide vehicle. But those are primarily offensive weapons, not the kind of sustained hypersonic cruise aircraft the SR-72 represents. Building a true equivalent requires solving the same propulsion and materials problems the US has apparently just cleared. That's years of engineering work, minimum. In the meantime, the gap between what the US has demonstrated and what anyone else can field is now visible, and visibility matters in deterrence. What follows the demonstrator is the question nobody outside Skunk Works can fully answer. A production aircraft, a weapons integration program, a basing and logistics structure built around something that generates extreme heat loads on landing, all of that takes time and money. But the demonstrator phase isn't the end. It's the proof of concept that unlocks the rest of the program. And if the 2026 flight went the way the signals suggest it did, the program just cleared the hardest gate in the entire development sequence. The SR-72 doesn't just outrun air defenses, it makes the entire framework of air defense planning obsolete, because those systems were built around a world where speed had an upper limit that interception could match. That world is gone. The open seas are increasingly becoming a stage for rising tensions between the US and China. As American warships sail through these important international waters, they are frequently shadowed by Chinese surveillance vessels, a deliberate strategy by China to assert its growing naval power. These encounters, a combination of military strength, advanced technology, and international legal disputes, heighten the risk of accidental conflicts. What activities are carried out in the United States ships during these tense standoffs? How exactly do these confrontations end? Join us as we explore exactly what happens when a Chinese spy ship is spotted following a U.S. Navy carrier group. On the vast open sea, United States Navy warships, some of the most powerful in the world, regularly find themselves under surveillance by Chinese vessels. These encounters are far from ordinary. They involve a mix of military strength, advanced technologies, and the complexities of international law. The situation goes beyond just ships passing by each other. It involves careful monitoring, strategic responses, and sometimes tense standoffs. When an unidentified vessel is detected near a U.S. aircraft carrier, the crew immediately springs into action. The first priority is to determine the identity and intentions of the approaching ship. This is done using the ship's sophisticated radar systems and high-powered optics, which are capable of gathering vital information about the unknown vessel, such as its size, speed, and heading. The crew uses this data to form an initial assessment of the situation and decide how to respond. One of the key tools for the U.S. Navy in these situations is the ANP-1 phased array radar. This advanced system can track multiple surface contacts simultaneously at distances beyond 100 nautical miles. This provides the crew with ample time to evaluate the situation and prepare their next steps. In addition to radar, the carrier also relies on electro-optical and infrared sensors. These sensors offer visual confirmation of the vessel, even in low visibility conditions, allowing the crew to monitor and track the ship with greater precision. As soon as the radar systems detect the unknown vessel, the communications team begins its role in managing the situation. They attempt to establish radio contact with the approaching ship using internationally recognized maritime frequencies. The message delivered is always clear and professional, with the goal of avoiding escalation. This is a United States Navy vessel conducting routine operations in international waters. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. If the vessel is identified as a Chinese spy ship, the communication becomes even more crucial. The U.S. Navy's approach remains steady, calm, and professional, regardless of any rising tensions. The message may include something like, "Chinese vessel, this is the U.S. Navy carrier. We are conducting lawful operations in international waters. We ask that you maintain a safe distance and avoid any actions that could be perceived as threatening or hostile." This initial interaction serves several key purposes. First, it shows the U.S. Navy's readiness and willingness to uphold its rights under international law. Second, it makes the intentions of the U.S. clear, emphasizing that their operations are peaceful and lawful. Third, it provides a space for communication, reducing the risk of misunderstandings that could escalate tensions. By maintaining professionalism and transparency, the U.S. Navy seeks to de-escalate potentially dangerous situations while asserting its authority in international waters. Throughout these encounters, the U.S. Navy is guided by established protocols and a commitment to peaceful conflict resolution. Despite the potential for tension, the goal is always to avoid confrontation, ensuring that international law is respected and that both parties understand each other's actions. The combination of high-tech radar, clear communication, and strategic decision-making is what helps the U.S. Navy navigate these complex and often sensitive situations with confidence. The carrier's crew is trained to maintain professionalism and follow international maritime laws during all operations. To avoid any misunderstandings, they are fluent in several languages, including Mandarin Chinese, ensuring clear communication with crews from various countries. When faced with unexpected situations at sea, the crew follows established protocols, which are designed to minimize any potential confusion or errors. These protocols are essential for maintaining order, especially during unplanned encounters at sea. While communication is ongoing, the carrier uses its advanced sensor systems to monitor and collect information about the surrounding area. Radar specialists closely track the movements of any spy ships, ensuring that the crew is aware of any potential threats. At the same time, electronic warfare experts analyze various signals, such as radar emissions, radio transmissions, and other electronic footprints. These signals can provide vital information about the capabilities and intentions of the enemy, which is crucial for decision-making and response. The carrier is equipped with powerful electronic warfare systems like the AN/SQ-32, which can detect, identify, and, if necessary, jam enemy radar and communication systems. This technology allows the crew to form a comprehensive electronic picture of their surroundings, identifying the types of ships in the area and assessing potential risks. By disrupting enemy radar and communication, the crew can prevent hostile forces from gathering useful information or coordinating their actions. To extend the carrier's surveillance capabilities even further, an E-2 Hawkeye aircraft may be deployed. This airborne early warning system is equipped with advanced radar technology that can detect and track both surface and air contacts at long ranges. With the ability to scan vast areas, the E-2 Hawkeye can detect other ships or aircraft that might be operating in coordination with the spy ship, helping the carrier's crew stay one step ahead. The E-2 Hawkeye is capable of tracking up to hundreds of targets simultaneously, and its radar can reach distances of up to 350 nautical miles. Its ability to provide real-time information and coordinate with both fighter jets and surface ships makes it a valuable asset, especially in complex maritime situations. Also, intelligence analysts stationed on the aircraft carrier meticulously analyze the data they've gathered, cross-referencing it with what is already known about China's naval capabilities. They specifically search for any unusual behavior or signs of new technologies that might suggest a change in China's naval tactics, strategies, or technological advancements. The analysts rely on sophisticated software programs to compare the characteristics of the Chinese spy ship with a large database of known vessel types. In particular, they focus on identifying any modifications, upgrades, or new equipment that could point to advanced surveillance or weapon systems. This helps them determine if there are any changes in the Chinese military's abilities. While the U.S. Navy is actively collecting this intelligence, it is important to note that they operate within the framework of international law. The Navy recognizes the fine line between lawful surveillance and provocative actions that could escalate tensions. As such, they take care not to cross that line, ensuring that their primary mission is not compromised. Despite the presence of the Chinese spy ship, the Navy continues to focus on their core operations. This includes carrying out freedom of navigation operations, participating in joint military exercises with allies, and patrolling international waters. The carrier group stays on course with its planned activities, demonstrating that the U.S. Navy will not be intimidated or deterred from conducting its lawful operations. This sends a clear and strong message to other nations. The U.S. Navy remains committed to its missions, regardless of external pressures or surveillance. However, the presence of the Chinese spy ship may lead to some strategic adjustments by the U.S. Navy. Although the carrier group's overall mission continues as planned, certain sensitive operations might be adjusted to minimize the amount of valuable intelligence that the spy ship could gather. For instance, if the carrier group was planning a missile defense exercise, they might choose to delay or change the timing or location of the exercise. By doing so, they reduce the likelihood that the Chinese ship will collect meaningful data about the Navy's capabilities or tactics. Similarly, the Navy could alter their electronic emissions to limit the amount of information available to the spy ship. Using strict emissions control procedures, the Navy can reduce the visibility of their activities and minimize the risk of the spy ship gaining access to critical intelligence. This careful balancing act ensures that the U.S. Navy completes its mission while being mindful of the fact that their actions are under constant observation. By adjusting certain activities, the Navy avoids making it easier for the Chinese spy ship to gather detailed information. This approach highlights the Navy's ability to operate effectively while maintaining control over the flow of sensitive data, even in the face of surveillance from potential adversaries. The strategic modifications made are subtle but effective in limiting the intelligence value of the spy ship's observations. The U.S. Navy is careful not to jeopardize its mission objectives while still operating under the constraints of being monitored by an observing foreign vessel. Ultimately, the U.S. Navy's focus remains on achieving its mission, regardless of the surveillance tactics employed by other nations. U.S. aircraft carriers, in many situations, do not operate by themselves. These ships are often supported by vessels from allied countries, especially when they are navigating through sensitive regions like the South China Sea. The presence of a Chinese spy ship in such areas adds another layer of difficulty to the operation. The complexity of managing multiple nation ships in close quarters demands clear, precise communication between all vessels involved. The importance of this communication increases significantly when monitoring a potential threat like a spy ship. In these multinational operations, the U.S. aircraft carrier typically assumes the role of the flagship and takes the lead in organizing the response efforts. This leadership can include delegating specific duties to individual ships. A notable instance of this occurred in April 2024, when the USS Harper Ferry operated in close coordination with naval ships from the Philippines and France. This multinational presence helped complicate China's attempts at surveillance. Allied ships play an integral role in gathering valuable intelligence during these operations. By spreading out and positioning themselves in different locations around the area, they can collect observations from various angles. This strategy enables the Allied forces to create a more complete and accurate picture of the spy ship's activities. Each vessel provides unique perspectives. The success of this approach lies in the ability of each ship to operate independently while still working toward a unified objective. The outcome is not only an increase in situational awareness, but also a demonstration of the strength and unity of the international alliance. A key advantage of the U.S. Navy is its ability to seamlessly integrate operations with the navies of allied countries. Regular joint exercises, such as the annual Balikatan exercises held with the Philippines, are vital in ensuring that allied forces can work together effectively under high-stress conditions. These exercises simulate real-world challenges, preparing the forces for situations where quick coordination and decisive action are required. This ongoing collaboration strengthens the bonds between the U.S. and its allies, ensuring that all nations are ready to respond quickly and efficiently when needed. The encounters between U.S. aircraft carriers and Chinese spy ships take place within the context of international maritime law. One of the most important frameworks governing these interactions is the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. This international treaty, often called the Constitution for the Oceans, outlines the rights and responsibilities of countries regarding the use and protection of the world's oceans. UNCLOS, which came into force in 1994, defines various maritime zones and the rights that nations have in these zones. These zones include territorial waters, exclusive economic zones, and the high seas. The high seas specifically are areas that are beyond any single nation's jurisdiction. In these areas, all countries are granted certain freedoms. These freedoms include the right to navigate, fly over, lay submarine cables, and conduct scientific research. This status of the high seas allows nations to operate in international waters without interference from others, provided they respect international laws. It is within this context that U.S. naval forces conduct operations, and it is also within this framework that China's spy ships must navigate. Understanding and abiding by these rules is crucial for maintaining peace and stability in these contested areas, ensuring that all nations can safely and lawfully use the oceans for their purposes. After the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea came into force, it granted all ships, including military vessels, the right of innocent passage through the territorial waters of coastal states. This right extends to the exclusive economic zones of nations, which can extend up to 200 nautical miles from a country's coastline. Within these zones, foreign ships are allowed to conduct activities, but only if they do not interfere with the coastal state's economic rights or security. This principle is central to ensuring freedom of navigation in international waters and preventing disputes over maritime territories. The U.S. Navy's operations in the South China Sea are carried out under the principle of freedom of navigation, which has long been a part of international maritime law. This principle, as outlined by UNCLOS, allows ships to navigate freely through international waters and EEZs without interference from coastal nations, as long as they do not violate any national security or economic interests. However, tensions have risen due to China's interpretation of these laws. China has claimed nearly all of the South China Sea as its sovereign territory, well beyond the boundaries recognized by international law. This claim is based on the Nine-Dash Line, a controversial and ambiguous boundary that China uses to assert ownership of approximately 90% of the South China Sea. This claim overlaps with the EEZs of other nations, including the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei, which are also claiming rights to the resources within these waters. In response, the U.S., along with other countries, has rejected China's expansive territorial claims. The U.S. Navy has conducted numerous freedom of navigation operations in the region to assert the rights of all nations to navigate freely through these disputed waters. These operations typically involve U.S. warships sailing within 12 nautical miles of areas that China claims as its territory, signaling the U.S.'s position that these claims are not legally recognized. The phone ops are carefully planned and executed with a focus on challenging China's excessive maritime claims while staying within the boundaries of international law. These operations often include public statements by the U.S. Navy explaining their objectives and the importance of upholding international maritime rights. The presence of Chinese spy ships trailing U.S. carrier groups during these operations is often seen as part of a broader strategic contest. While such surveillance activities are not explicitly prohibited under international law, they contribute to an atmosphere of tension and mistrust between the two nations. The spying efforts by China are a reminder of the intense geopolitical rivalry in the region, as both the U.S. and China attempt to assert their dominance and control over critical maritime routes and resources. It is important to note that while the United States is a strong supporter of the principles outlined in UNCLOS, it has not ratified the treaty itself due to domestic political considerations. However, the U.S. adheres to many of UNCLOS provisions, considering them to be customary international law. This has caused some friction with nations that are part of the treaty, as the U.S. continues to operate as if bound by the convention without being an official signatory. China has been modernizing its navy at a fast pace, building up its fleet of surveillance vessels, submarines, destroyers, and aircraft carriers. One such vessel is the Tianwanjing, a surveillance ship that tracks U.S. naval movements, demonstrating China's growing ability to project power and monitor foreign naval operations in the region. This naval buildup is part of a broader strategic plan by China to become a world-class military power by 2049, the 100th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. To achieve this goal, China has heavily invested in modernizing its military, including its navy, to ensure it can protect its claims in the South China Sea and assert its influence in the broader Asia-Pacific region. The increasing presence of Chinese surveillance ships and military assets in disputed waters is a reflection of China's ambitions to challenge the existing maritime order and assert its rights over the South China Sea. The encounters between U.S. Navy carriers and Chinese spy ships are not just about direct interactions. They also serve as a chance for both nations to test and improve their technology and tactics. These situations allow both the U.S. and China to learn more about each other's strengths, from advanced electronic systems to how their ships operate. For instance, in April 2024, two U.S. allied ships were closely approached by the Chinese spy ship Tianwanjing. This likely provided China with important details about the emissions and movements of U.S. naval vessels. Similarly, the U.S. also gathers valuable information about China's surveillance techniques and how its ships behave. Looking ahead, the frequency and nature of these encounters could heavily influence future naval strategies and international maritime laws. As China continues to assert control in certain areas, like the South China Sea, the U.S. is focused on maintaining its presence and influence. This creates a situation where both sides need to be cautious to avoid misunderstandings that could lead to bigger conflicts. Efforts to reduce tensions and build trust between the two navies are vital. One such initiative is the Code for Unplanned Encounters at Sea, an agreement made by Pacific nations, including the U.S. and China, to improve communication and reduce the chances of accidents when ships unexpectedly meet. Still, it's unclear how well this will work during high-stakes situations. In addition to this, the U.S. and China have an agreement called the Military Maritime Consultative Agreement, which helps them talk about safety on the seas. While this agreement hasn't always been successful in easing tensions, it's an important way for both nations to communicate. These naval encounters represent a larger struggle between the two most powerful nations in the world, with each trying to strengthen its position in the Pacific. How this competition plays out will have major effects on global politics and the balance of power in the 21st century. The secrets are finally out after years of speculation and behind-the-scenes development. NASA has finally unveiled a radical new version of the legendary A-10 Warthog. The old warplane has been turned into a supersonic, low-noise fighter built for incredible speed, stealth, and sharp accuracy. It is faster, stronger, and harder to detect. It is unlike anything the world has seen before. With the eyes of Russia and China locked on every detail, it is clear that America has raised the stakes in modern aerial warfare. But what exactly makes this new aircraft so powerful? And how does it outperform its predecessors? Join us as we dive into NASA's stunning reveal and explore how this supersonic beast could reshape the future of combat aviation. The A-10, known as the Warthog, is a rugged, no-nonsense aircraft built for one job, which is to support troops on the ground. It was developed in the mid-1970s by Fairchild Republic for the United States Air Force, and what truly makes the A-10 special is its giant gun, a powerful 30mm cannon called the GAU-8 Avenger. This gun is so big that the plane was pretty much designed right around it. To keep the pilots safe during heavy fighting, their cockpit is covered by over 1,000 pounds of tough titanium armor. It's often described as being like a heavy, armored bathtub, built to protect the pilot even if the plane takes hits. The Warthog can also land and take off on short, bumpy dirt strips, which is really useful for missions close to where the soldiers are fighting. And because the plane is built in a fairly simple way, the mechanics can fix it quickly with basic tools. The A-10's main job is to help soldiers who are fighting on the ground. It is not built to chase or battle other jets high up in the sky like a traditional fighter plane. Instead, it flies lower and slower over the battlefield so the pilot can see what is happening on the ground and give direct support. For example, if enemy tanks are moving toward a group of soldiers, the A-10 can fly in low, carefully aim at the tanks, and destroy them before they reach the soldiers. Because it can stay in the air for a long time and move slowly, the pilot has enough time to spot enemy vehicles, groups of enemy soldiers, or hidden threats, and strike them accurately without accidentally harming friendly troops nearby. Just like a skilled firefighter carefully putting out flames close to a crowd without spraying the people he's trying to protect. Although only the single-seat version, the A-10A, was mass-produced, there was an experimental two-seat model called the YA-10B. In 2005, the Air Force began upgrading the A-10s with new digital systems under the A-10C program, allowing it to carry modern smart bombs and precision-guided weapons. The plan was to eventually replace the A-10 with the more advanced Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II. However, many pilots and military experts argue that the A-10's unique role can't be easily replaced. While Congress allowed the Air Force to start retiring some Warthogs in 2023, they later hit pause on that plan, allowing the jet to continue in service. By the late 1980s, it was clear that the A-10 Thunderbolt II would remain an important part of the United States Air Force. In 1987, a company called Grumman Aerospace took over responsibility for maintaining the aircraft, and they quickly began working on plans to keep it strong and flying for many more years. However, things didn't go as planned because serious problems soon started to appear. Cracks were found in the planes, especially in a part of the wing known as WS-23, and these cracks showed that the aircraft structures were becoming tired and weak, a problem that had actually started all the way back during the early years of production. The situation became even worse in the early 1990s when the government decided to close or combine several military bases, which led to about 4 out of every 5 workers who repaired the A-10s losing their jobs. With so many experienced people gone, it became much harder to keep up with urgent maintenance, and many of the planes that needed quick repairs ended up waiting much longer than they should have, making the problem even bigger over time. To keep the A-10 Thunderbolt II flying, Grumman made a new plan in 1998 to help each aircraft last up to 16,000 flight hours. This plan started the Hog Up program in 1999, which was a big project to fix and improve the planes. As time went on, the program got even bigger and included updates to the fuel system, the flight control systems, and the engine areas to make the A-10 stronger and more reliable. In 2001, engineers looked at the cracks in the wings again and said they were now critical, which meant they could skip the long approval steps and repair the planes faster. But by 2003, a new check showed that some of the old test results could not be trusted anymore, which made people worry even more. Soon after, one of the test wings broke during a trial, and more A-10s started failing their inspections. The United States Air Force then realized that if they did not act quickly, they could run out of safe wings for the planes by 2011. To fix the problem, the Air Force considered three options in 2005. Two of the choices were very expensive plans to extend the life of the old wings, which would have cost over $4 billion and $3 billion. The other option was to build brand new wings, which was much cheaper at about $1.72 billion, so they decided to choose that instead. In 2006, Boeing got the contract to build the new wings, starting with 117 units and the option to make 125 more. By 2013, Boeing had orders for 173 wings, with options for 69 still available. In November 2011, two A-10s flew successfully with the new wings, marking a major milestone for the aircraft's future. The new wings did more than just fix the cracking problem. They made the A-10 more ready for missions, cheaper to maintain, and extended its possible service life all the way to 2035. This wing replacement project was called the Thick Skin Urgent Spares Kitting Program, or TUSK for short. Thanks to programs like Hog Up and Tusk, the Warthog got a second life. In 2014, the United States Air Force wanted to stop using the A-10 Thunderbolt II to save money, and one idea they had was to cancel the project that was putting new wings on the planes, which they believed would save about $500 million. However, by the middle of 2015, the project had already gone too far, and they had spent too much money, so it was no longer a good idea to cancel it. Between 2005 and 2011, the military upgraded every single A-10 and OA-10 in the fleet, which was more than 350 planes, through a project called the Precision Engagement Program, and the changes were so big that they gave the aircraft a new name, the A-10C. These upgrades allowed the jet to fight in any kind of weather, use smart bombs more accurately, and protect itself better with new electronic defenses. Pilots also got two digital screens and a modern cockpit that combined the best controls from famous fighter jets like the F-15 and F-16, making it feel similar to upgrading from an old mobile phone to a brand new smartphone. To give the A-10 even more time over the battlefield, the Air Force tested a large 600-gallon external fuel tank that could extend flight time by nearly an hour. Although tests back in 1997 had tried this, it wasn't until 2012 that proper evaluation began. More than 30 flights were run to see how the fuel tank would affect flight control. The result? It made the aircraft slightly less stable when turning left or right, but it didn't hurt accuracy or handling. One of the big reasons the Warthog is so special is because of its unique wing design, which uses a cantilever low-wing monoplane structure with wide, straight wings that help it stay stable and easy to control, even at low speeds and low heights. Thanks to its large wings, tall shape, and big control flaps called ailerons, the A-10 can take off and land on very short runways, making it perfect for flying from rough, simple airfields close to the fighting, like landing a strong off-road truck in a muddy field instead of needing a smooth road. While most fighter jets fly too fast to easily hit small moving targets on the ground, the A-10 flies at about 300 knots, which is roughly 350 miles per hour, making it slow enough to spot and attack enemy vehicles or soldiers carefully. It can also fly under 1,000 feet in bad weather or low visibility and stay over a battlefield for a long time to give ground troops steady support. The A-10's wing construction is also very special because the front part of the wings is built with a honeycomb structure, which makes them strong without making them too heavy, similar to how a honeycomb in a beehive is strong but still very light. This smart building technique is also used in other parts of the aircraft, like the elevators, rudders, and parts of the tail. The outside skin of the wing is made by computer-guided machines and is joined directly with the support beams underneath, which helps to save both time and money during production. One big advantage of this design is that if the outside layer gets damaged during a mission, it can be patched up quickly and easily, even out in the field using simple tools and materials. The A-10 also has very large ailerons, which are the parts on the wings that help the plane turn or roll from side to side, and these ailerons stretch across almost half the length of the wings. They are also split into two sections, creating something called deceleronds, which can open up in the air to slow the aircraft down during flight, giving pilots even more control when they need to adjust speed or prepare for landing. The A-10's famous gun placement is quite unique. The massive 30mm cannon sits right down the center line of the aircraft. To make this work, engineers had to move the front wheel slightly to the right side. This offset design has a practical effect when the pilot is driving the plane on the ground. It turns more sharply to the right than to the left. It's similar to a shopping cart with a wobbly wheel that pulls to one side. The landing gear design is also equally clever. When the wheels fold up during flight, they don't completely hide inside the plane. Parts of the tires still stick out. This is not a mistake or a design flaw. Think of it like wearing elbow pads. If the plane has to make an emergency belly landing, these partially exposed tires act as skids that help the aircraft slide more smoothly. Another priority for the design is safety. If the hydraulic systems fail, the systems that normally control the wheels, gravity, and air pressure can still push the landing gear down. This is similar to emergency systems in buildings where doors are designed to unlock automatically during power failures. When it comes to taking damage, the Warthog is in a class of its own. It can take direct hits from armor-piercing and explosive shells up to 23mm in size. If its hydraulic systems go down, it doesn't crash. It switches to a backup system called manual reversion. This lets the pilot steer using mechanical controls. Though harder to handle, it still works well enough to get the aircraft back home. The pilot is protected by titanium, a heavy shell weighing around 1,200 pounds or about 540 kilograms. This armor wraps around the cockpit and vital flight systems, shielding them from direct cannon fire and shrapnel from larger blasts. It's made from titanium plates between 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches thick, carefully shaped to reflect enemy fire. Inside the tub, the walls facing the pilot are covered with layers of nylon to stop sharp fragments from getting through. Even the windscreen and canopy are bullet-resistant, giving the pilot the best chance of surviving intense ground fire. One of the most powerful examples of the Warthog's toughness happened during the Iraq War in 2003. Captain Kim Campbell was flying over Baghdad when her aircraft was badly hit by enemy fire. One engine went out and the hydraulic system failed, forcing her to rely entirely on the manual controls. Despite the damage, she kept the jet stable and flew it for nearly an hour before landing safely back at base. The A-10 Thunderbolt II was built to handle rough and difficult conditions because unlike many other jets that need smooth, paved runways, the A-10 can take off from simple forward air bases or makeshift landing strips where rocks, dirt, and debris can be a big danger to engines. To solve this problem, engineers mounted the General Electric TF-34 turbofan engines high up on the back part of the aircraft, far from the ground, which helps protect them from sucking in dangerous debris. This smart placement also lets the engines keep running while the aircraft is being rearmed or repaired, which means the A-10 can get back in the air much faster without wasting time. Its low-mounted wings make it easier for ground crews to quickly load weapons, refuel, and check the plane, even when working with basic equipment in tough environments. Similar to how a delivery truck with a low cargo bed can be loaded faster and easier compared to a truck that sits too high off the ground. Each engine is bolted to the airframe with 4 strong connectors, showing how much weight and stress the aircraft structure can handle. The engines also feature a high bypass ratio, about 6:1, which means more air is pushed around the engine core than through it. This design gives the A-10 a quieter and cooler engine signature, making it harder for enemy infrared-guided missiles to lock on. The engine exhaust is directed over the horizontal stabilizers at the tail, further reducing heat visibility and helping the A-10 stay undetected longer in hostile environments. Fuel safety is another major part of the A-10's design. All 4 of its main fuel tanks are placed near the center of the aircraft, away from the outer edges. This setup means that enemy bullets or shrapnel would have to pass through the body of the plane before they could even reach a tank. The fuel lines are also self-sealing. If one is hit, it can plug itself up to stop fuel from leaking. And if a fuel tank is too damaged to seal, the system uses check valves to keep the fuel from draining into the broken tank. Most parts of the fuel system are located inside the tanks themselves, so even if something breaks, it won't cause a major fuel loss. To make the system even safer, the fuel tanks are lined with a special polyurethane foam. This foam absorbs debris and stops fuel from spilling out in case of damage. The engines are also protected from the rest of the aircraft by built-in firewalls and extinguishers. And in the worst-case scenario, if all 4 main tanks are knocked out, the A-10 still has 2 small backup tanks with enough fuel to fly up to 230 miles. At the heart of the A-10 Thunderbolt II is its most famous feature, a monster of a weapon called the GAU-8 Avenger. This 7-barrel rotary cannon fires large shells and was built specifically to destroy tanks. It's one of the most powerful aircraft guns ever flown. Early versions of the gun let the pilot choose between firing 2,100 or 4,200 rounds per minute. Today, it fires at a fixed rate of about 3,900 rounds per minute. To put that into perspective, in the first second alone, the gun fires 50 armor-piercing shells and then keeps going at around 65 to 70 per second. The A-10's entire design revolves around this gun. It's mounted slightly to the left inside the fuselage, but the firing barrel sits on the right so that the bullets shoot straight down the center of the plane. The gun's ammunition drum is nearly 6 feet long and holds over 1,300 rounds, though most missions use about 1,174. To protect the ammo from being hit in combat, layers of armor are built between the aircraft skin and the drum. This design can even cause incoming shells to explode before they get too close. Another example of the A-10's battle-hardened engineering. The aircraft doesn't just attack, it protects itself too. Most A-10s carry an ALQ-131 device under one wing that blocks enemy radar and confuses missiles. For defense against enemy planes, they have 2 AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles under the other wing. The A-10 brings many weapons to battle, made not just to destroy but to last. With strong firepower and a design for real combat, the A-10 remains the best choice for supporting ground troops, even many years after it was first built. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.